All right, well, in the end, in this battle of the London clubs, it is the team up north, Arsenal, who managed to get all 3 points in this one. All right, let's have a look at the top half standings of the Premier League. And you guessed it, it is the Gunners who are still very much out in front, 5 points ahead of Manchester City and Manchester United in third. All right, whew. Let's welcome in the rest of our squad, shall we? Julien Laurens is joining us, as well as Frank Leboeuf. Oh, the little French connection. Let me start with Jules in this one. Jules, because we know how close you are to the Arsenal side. I mean, this seems or felt like a bit of a statement win from Arsenal. It wasn't the prettiest game of football on the pitch, 3 goals from Shaka set pieces. But how do you feel Mikel Arteta will be feeling after this?
I'm not sure if statement is the right word. I think it's one of those games for now, between now and the end of the season, for them, like for City. And to be fair, also the teams that are fighting for the Champions League places, for example, or the relegation, it's all about winning. It doesn't really matter if you play well. It doesn't really matter if you perform at your best or not, if your star players are clicking. If it's all about winning. And as we saw with City yesterday against Leeds United, for example, where they were outplayed in that first half, you just find a way. And today, Chelsea were probably the better team, more than Arsenal. But in the end, I think the fact that they went and fight to get that win, show the character, I think was the most important, and probably what Mikel Arteta will keep in mind, because Chelsea were probably the better team over the whole 90 minutes. Even with 10 men, they put a lot of pressure on. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters the most is the 3 points.
Frank, you know I'm going to have to come to you next as a former Chelsea man, just to hear Jules say that Chelsea probably were the better team in the game. But again, you leave the Emirates with nothing. What's upsetting you about this game? Because I know there's a lot.
Well, mostly about Chelsea itself and the way they played, especially the first half, where they had some possibilities in counter-attack and they didn't go for it, and they came back and they played too slow. And we have to talk about Robert Sanchez. I mean, he's a very good goalkeeper and he made some save today, but we have to stop telling him that he can be the first offensive player. He's bad with his feet and he scares everybody. And I was jumping every time the Chelsea player was giving him the ball, because he's a danger. And Liam Rossinior should tell him to stop being, easygoing. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't know what you're doing. You're putting everybody in danger, and it's scary what you're doing. So I was very upset with that. And you can see the difference with Raya and him. And that's maybe the difference that you can see between Arsenal and Chelsea. But it's true, otherwise, even 10 against 11, Chelsea were having more chances to score and were, for me, better organized offensively than Arsenal. You cannot deny that it's a masterpiece that the French coach on set pieces is able to do with Arsenal players, and they really stick to it. But they have to do something. Chelsea, we talked about that, and Craig Burley has alluded it many, many times, where, put Cole Palmer, Joao Pedro, and Neto, leave them at front, and we'll see what Arsenal is going to do. Because you will have less people in the 18-yard box. You will maybe a chance to counter-attack, and you will and Arsenal will wonder what they have to do. So maybe you have to try something. The more people you put in the middle of it, the more messy it gets. So I was a bit frustrated. I want to say that on Rice, on the first corner, then when Rice touched the ball with his handball, there are a combo of fouls. Mm-hmm. First, he grabs the guy, so it's already a foul. Then after, there is a handball. Well, good for Chelsea. They score on the following corner, but really, I think there was a foul, so there should have been a penalty for me.
Well, I know that's definitely one point that, Shaka, I know you want to talk about. But just to pick up on Frank's point about Robert Sanchez, because, of course, we were on La Liga duty watching the Grand Derby, but you could not take your eyes away from those opening moments, seeing what Robert Sanchez was doing.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure anybody could take their eyes off Robert Sanchez. And to Frank's point, I totally agree. I thought Robert Sanchez was taking unnecessary risks. He's not great with the ball at his feet, but Chelsea seemed intent on passing the ball out to the back. But what Robert Sanchez was doing was kind of leading into, Chelsea's bigger picture in terms of their attempts to pass the ball out to the back. Time and time again, I thought they invited the pressure from Arsenal. Chelsea were playing these little short, 2 and 3 yard balls and inviting the pressure. And whenever it turned over, if it turned over, Arsenal would just found themselves in great position. Not often enough were they able to pass their way out of that pressure. So I had an issue with not just Robert Sanchez, but throughout Chelsea's approach. I felt that, especially at the Emirates, go long a couple of times, relieve yourself of that pressure a couple of times, make Arsenal earn that field position, which I don't think they had to do for a lot of the game.
He has a mistake in him, though.
Yeah, no, he does.
I mean,
he does.
it's just every time he steps on the field, he either does that or he looks as though he's just about to do it. In terms of the game, I'm sorry, I didn't think Chelsea turned up till the 45th minute. I mean, they didn't contribute anything going forward in the first half, in my opinion, other than that Nketiah own goal. Second half, I agree, was completely different. Somehow they, I was thinking about the half-time team talks. You got Rosinho who's saying, right, we've just got ourselves back in this game. We've got a foot in the game now. Let's take a next step and we'll get forward. And they did. And I can hear Arteta saying, right, OK, we've taken a bit of a knock, but let's go and start the way we did the first half. And Arsenal didn't do it. That would be the worrying thing for me. That Arsenal, when it got a little pressurised, when there was some problems, they didn't seem as though they had an answer. Because they never controlled anything from the start of the second half to the end. Even when Chelsea had 10 men, Arsenal still didn't control the ball. I thought their midfield was poor. I mean, Declan Rice just ran out of steam. I think Zubimendi, I think it's probably his worst game in an Arsenal jersey. But yeah, Chelsea were great second half, but I didn't think they turned up till half time.
So there are a couple of things that kind of stood out to me. So one in addressing something Frank said about Arsenal and their play, or more to the point, their set pieces. It was in this fixture in the Carabao Cup where you saw Chelsea very late on, as Arsenal were about to take the set piece, they would throw 3 forward and kind of throw Arsenal off. You saw nothing of that this time around from the same team and the same manager in trying to put Arsenal off in the execution of their set pieces. And then to Steve's point, I think Robert Sanchez does have these errors in him. He really does make you nervous. But then in terms of the balance of the game, and as much as I say that at times Arsenal were kind of gifted possession and position, Robert Sanchez had routine saves to make at best. The biggest scare came in that moment very early on when he gave the ball away and got kind of lucky with it under the pressure from Gyökeres. So while Arsenal were you felt had better position on the park, Sanchez didn't have an awful lot to do. And in the end, really, after 90 minutes, Robert Sanchez was by far the busier of the two keepers. Yeah. And I was called on to make a couple of saves there that were simply outstanding by any measure, regardless of what fixture we're talking about. So I'm kind of caught, so you find myself caught kind of in between. What was it? Arsenal were good, were Chelsea good? Certainly, I think there's no denying that Raya was outstanding and easily better with 2 goalkeepers.
Yeah, Jules, just to bring back up Stevie's point and his analysis of Arsenal, just how much of a concern would that be now for Arsenal? Because I feel like we watch all their games now with a magnifying glass. And as Stevie was saying, not impressed by Zubimendi's, Declan Rice looking like he's running out of steam. This is not what you want to hear from some of your best players or see from some of your best players when you're involved in such a crucial title race.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I thought that Chelsea were really good today. The game tactically worked really well, certainly in the first half, in making Arsenal not play the usual game, and we saw that in the second half to put them under more pressure. It's a real shame that Neto get that silly red card, because I would be really curious to see how the game would have panned out with 11 against 11 for the last 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I agree. I think for Rice and Zubimendi, and to be fair, Arsenal have been outpassed in this game. Almost Chelsea made almost twice more passes than Arsenal. Not exactly that, but not far from it. And the possession was all Chelsea and not Arsenal. And it's the first time this season that I've seen this. It's very rare for Arsenal to be at the Emirates. Even Bayern didn't do that. Even City didn't do that. So all the best teams that usually come to the Emirates don't have more possession and more passes and a lot of things that Chelsea did today. So for that, it's credit to them. But in the end, those games are small margins, right? We know it. Arsenal were never going to win 5-0 today at 11 against 11. That's never going to happen. So it's those kind of games where you just need the extra edge into some of the areas to win it. And especially if your best players are not playing well. Maybe the most worrying to add to what Stevie said is, what do you do on Wednesday away at Brighton, by the way? Because it's not like if you have the whole week to prepare for that game, players to rest. This is Sunday. Tomorrow it's match day +1, so you just do warm down and not much more. And then Tuesday you're already on match day -1 for the Brighton game. So you don't train either. You don't really rest much either. Do you start Zubimendi in Brighton? Do you start Rice in Brighton? Do you give a chance to Norgard? Who is your third midfielder? Do you go a bit more defensive with Norgard, maybe Rice and Zubimendi? So that's all the questions. And if that Brighton game was next weekend, I think it'd be different. But the fact it's in 3 days' time now, considering the tiredness and all the effort put out today, I think that's a bit of a worry.
Well, a lot of questions for what Arsenal is going to do next against Brighton. But, Jules, I think we can all agree that they're definitely going to try and score from a corner kick. Because have a look at this. Arsenal now tying their own Premier League record for goals from corner kicks. And, Frank, I mean, I hate to say it, but are they just going to corner kick their way or set piece their way to a title now?
Well, it's part of the football. We have to accept that. And I remember when I was playing, already 65% of goals were coming from set pieces. So you have to accept the fact that it can happen, and that's a skill, and that you have to work on that. And I think Rhys James said that the football now is mostly goals are mostly coming from set pieces, and I agree with that. And you have to use that. It's part of the game, and I have no issues whatsoever with that. And Arsenal, every time they have a set piece, they have a corner kick, especially, they are really a danger. Chelsea too. And I think this maybe Crystal Palace as well does it very well. They have scored like 24 goals, I think in so many games, Crystal Palace. So it's part of it. You have to accept that. I have no issues with that. It's part of the game. It's already been. So good for them. But the others, they have to work on that. It's possible. I mean, you know that most of the time, Arsenal, which it could be whether it's going to be Shaka or Declan Rice, they're going to try to aim Gabriel. But do something against Gabriel. Try to do something against Gabriel, even if it's very hard because he's very talented in that matter. But you have to try to do something. But again, it's part of the game and good for Arsenal. And Arsenal, it's like they always need a French guy. Before they had a French team, in my time, now they need a French guy. They need Julien Laurens as a French journalist and a French fan, and they need Saliba to score goals. So they need French people. That's what it is.
To that point, while Frank is absolutely right, and Arsenal fans wouldn't care less if they won the title, how those goals came or how many goals came from set pieces or whatever the record is. And nor should they. Nor should they care about what I'm about to say. While you could say, yes, it's a part of the game, it's an integral part of the game, I can't remember anything else Arsenal did. While it's a part of the game, I cannot remember one attacking play that made me sit up and say, yeah, that's the best team in English football, or that's the best team in European football. Outside of these set pieces, there is nothing memorable about Arsenal. Now, again, I say that. Arsenal fans are well within their rights, and nor should they care that that's the case. But as a neutral, we're talking about the best team in English football, I cannot remember anything. Other than Martinelli's taking on Neto, probably because of the card and the red card, I cannot think of anything that Arsenal did.
That would really be the biggest concern for Arteta. You know, they play City, but the other 8 games are against teams outside the top 6, which basically means probably those teams are going to be sitting in a tight defensive unit. And whilst you got Martinelli with that one run, you know, Trossard's not doing anything on that left-hand side. Shaka has pretty much disappeared recently. And Gyökeres, a couple of goals the other night, but you can't trust him. So how are you going to break down these sides with 8 games to go? And then you look at City. You go, well, Cherky, Foden, Semenyu's flying, Haaland gets fit. You know, you're starting to think, well, who's your money going to be on? You've got an Arsenal side going forward who look as though they can't break anybody down. and you've got City that have got so many options, they look as though they can break people down. So if you're Arteta, you got the win, but you must be a little worried.
Frank?
If I may, Alexis, there was a discussion about Odegaard or Eze. Odegaard wasn't here today. I don't know the reason why. I guess he's injured. But where was Eze today? He was a real passenger, where we know that he can be so influential in the game. But it's like he's not even trying to do something. He was drawn into the tactic of Chelsea, the defensive tactic of Chelsea. We didn't see him. I don't know why he stayed so long on the field. And when you have other options, like Martinelli should have come maybe earlier. So yeah, I'm like the guy, except the set pieces. Arsenal has to be worried about how they play offensively, but also defensively. 10 against 11, they were in danger. Even Saliba, who I highly ranked, had issues today with João Pedro. So something has to be done. And without Raya, it could have been another story today.
As Frank says, as they had a chance from distance.
Yeah.
That I don't know was half Eze brilliance, half Robert Sanchez heart attack yet again though. And it was from a ball that was given away in midfield to the discussion that we're having. But as Frank said, Eze. I remember, They had that, but you can't credit that to football. That was a ball given away, good pressure, but that's about it.
Well, Jules, as we all know, I mean, it's no surprise that Arsenal are going to look to find goals off of set pieces. And as Frank said, you only leave it up to the other teams to try find something to do about it, to counteract it. So what did Liam Rossini have to say about Chelsea today conceding those 2 goals from set pieces?
Yeah, he was really unhappy. I mean, it's not the first time. This is an issue that we see week in and week out, especially since, even under Maresca, but since he's taken over. Last weekend against Burnley, for example, the draw, it was a late corner, a goal on the corner. And by the way, they could have lost that game on another corner 5 minutes later if Julien Laurens had been a bit more efficient and precise with his header. So it's not the first time we've seen this. But I can understand his frustration, and that was exactly all his post-match interviews today, whether it was for English TV, English radio, his press conference. He was clearly very frustrated, especially about the red card from Neto. Obviously, because he's so stupid, as we said already, and the goals on set pieces. Okay, you're disappointed and frustrated. You should work more on it. And like Shaka said, why are you not trying something a little bit different like you did in the League Cup semi-final? Like Frank said, you should work more on it. Because if you're that good offensively on set pieces, surely you could be almost as good defensively. It's the same players who this time defend and not attack. And okay, it's a very different context and the dynamic and the momentum is different. I get that. But still, you've got height, you've got size, you've got power, you've got everything. Sort it out. And he's been here for a long time now, since December. And yet, it's still the same issues that Chelsea have on set pieces against Burnley or against Arsenal. So against a team that is not very good at it and a team that is excellent at it. And yet, it's still not sorted out.
Well, Frank, Chelsea have a problem conceding from set pieces, but they also have a problem with discipline in terms of accumulating red cards. Have a look there. They have accumulated 7 so far this season. That's 3 more than Everton in second. And I mean, Reece James spoke about it after and just spoke about how it has become a problem there for them now.
It's a real problem. But as Reece James explained, it's always a different player. It's never the same, let's say, and that's something that you have to sort out. So I think they try, but on Neto, is mostly the first one when it comes to complain to the ref, and so he got a yellow card, and nobody saw that, and that's why I didn't see why he gave another yellow card and a red card. I said, what's wrong with the ref? But again, the tackle. I always say to the forward players, don't try to tackle. It's a skill. You don't have that talent. You're not good at it, and you have to be careful with that. It's dangerous for the opponent legs because you can break legs because you don't know how to do it, and that's insane. And somebody says stupid. That was stupid. A stupid tackle. He should have carried on. But some people are saying that. And it's Olivier Dacour, from a former Everton player, said forward players are lazy, so they try to tackle like that. it's over. If they miss, it's okay. It's up to the defenders to sort out the problem. But it's true. He should have carried on with Martinelli and tried to block him, but not tackle. And he should have been able to do that. But yeah, the disciplinary issue is a real problem, and they have to try to calm down, to stop complaining, except the captain as well, because it's been the main concern for Chelsea. If you cannot finish every game, 10 against 11.
Shaka, I know you're a neutral in this one, but this yellow card and then the red card, of course, for Neto, particularly annoyed you.
Because it was stupid. If you're on a card, you cannot make that challenge. You're 1-on-1 with Martinelli, wide on your right, Arce's left. Okay, Martinelli is quick, but you're on a yellow card. You cannot make that challenge. You've got to stay on your feet. Otherwise, that's exactly what's going to happen. What was even just as frustrating is that he had the nerve to argue about it for quite some time.
Yep.
That is as clear a yellow card as you will see. Now, Frank said his first yellow was for arguing with the ref. So I missed that. Is that right? I missed it during the game. So he got his first booking for arguing with the ref. Now, you know what's more frustrating?
Yes, that was, yeah.
What's more frustrating than that second yellow card? More frustrating than trying to make some kind of a show of it? Picking up a booking for arguing with the referee.
Yeah.
You're in a derby, top of the table derby. You pick up a yellow card for arguing with the referee. And those are the things. If you mistime a challenge, fine. If you think I have to bring Martinelli down, otherwise because he's going to go by me and he's 1-on-1, so let me take a booking here, fine. You cannot, in these kinds of games, with all that's at stake for you and the opponent, you cannot pick up a booking for arguing with the referee. You simply can't. So that almost overshadows the second yellow in terms of just pure stupidity. And I'm not sure how he had the nerve to argue.
Shaka, you're a wise person, and we all know that you can keep your calm down. That was a very high, hot temper. So you can get a yellow card because you argue with the ref and say something to the ref and get a yellow card. But you cannot. Now, what I want to say when I go with you is you have to know, like 2 minutes after, you cannot make that tackle then. That you have to be clever enough to say, okay, I was stupid before. I'm not going to be stupid twice. So I'm going to deal with and go with the flow. So you can have a hot temper because you get frustrated and it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. But you have to calm down and after see what you have to do. And clearly, Neto, that's impossible. You cannot do that. It's impossible. Either way, you cannot do that.
Well, Jules, we're hearing that Neto just didn't know he was on a yellow card already, but that almost makes the situation more comical. Absolutely, that's what I was going to say. I mean, there's two things here, because he first says to the referee, this is my first foul, and you see him saying, like, this is the first one. It's actually second foul, but it doesn't matter so much if it's your first foul or not. A foul like that is a yellow. Whether you already have a yellow or you don't, this is in every single day, every league, every country, whatever, this is a yellow. So first, second, 10th, 20th, it doesn't matter. Then, how can you not know you're on a yellow card? And that's the second part of the argument, where the whole Chelsea team, actually, if you look at it again, come to the centre circle when they're about to kick off again, and even Reece James saying to the referee, but he didn't know he was on a yellow. I mean, I don't understand how at that level, when you've got 11 Chelsea players on the bench, plus the whole bench, the staff, everybody watching the same game, not like us on television where we just have what the TV is showing us, obviously, but them have the whole pitch that they can see. How can you not know you've been on a yellow? How can you have not seen the referee like literally taking his yellow card out of his pocket and showing it to you? How? Or somebody telling you, actually, well, maybe you turn your back when the referee, which we can see sometimes, somebody said to you, don't forget, you maybe didn't see it, but you're on a yellow. At halftime, maybe Liam Rossinier, a staff member, anybody saying, don't forget, you're on a yellow, maybe you didn't see it, we're not sure. So how is that even possible? All right, well, let's get some percentages now.
That's very important. Sorry, Alexi. Alexi, I'm very sorry, but I want to jump on that because I used to say to my teammates, and I remember that because I was at the back and I was seeing it, man, you got a yellow card, calm down. Just breathe. I know it's hard, but just breathe. That's a duty you have to have. You have to have as a teammate. And Julien has a very good point. How come the others didn't say, hey, Neto, calm down, you just got a yellow card. Because that's the reflex that we have to have. And that's impossible. What they've done is impossible.
All right, well, let's get some percentages now in terms of winning the league once again. Our Don Hutchison isn't on there. Stevie, let me start with you. Percentage now for Arsenal to win it. Or
I think
City.
it's 50-50.
Still?
I think so. Even though there's, what?
5 points clear.
5 points clear.
Yep.
I think it's 50-50. I right now have more faith in Man City
Really?
in terms of going forward attacking wise than I have on Arsenal. And we've been talking about it in the lead up to this game.
Yeah.
Recently, Arsenal have been letting in goals, and Raya has had to do more and more game after game after game. So that really isn't a recipe for winning, 9 games that they've got left. So I think it's 50-50, only because they've got a 5-point gap, which will probably end up 2 when City play the game that they have to coming up.
Yeah, as much as City do host Arsenal later on this season, I still feel the odds are in Arsenal favours because of that 5-point gap. I'm going to say 60-40, or in typical fashion, I'm going to go 62-38.
62-38, okay. Jules, what about you?
60-40, I've been saying it for the last few weeks because Gab is obsessed with percentages as well on the show. So 60-40, I think is fair.
You're sticking with it. Frank?
Yeah, I agree with Shaka and Jules, 60-40, because, a game like that shows that they are lucky. And you need chance, you need to be lucky in order to win a title. And it tells me that, you would have signed. Even if they weren't good today, there is a sign that they are lucky. So I have to give credit to that, and so 60-40.